And I would be speaking with a lawyer to find out really what, after the arrest and when the court declares that they are guilty, what goes into the issue of confiscating their assets. We hear that some of them sometimes register these items on, with the names of their relatives. And how would one undertake the process of addressing this particular issue of confiscation? We're joined on the line by a legal brain, Alhaji Hassan Tampuri. His name is Hassan Tampuri, to tell us what his position is and what would one have to do if he has to undertake the process of confiscating an item of a convicted felon. Good afternoon, sir, and thank you very much for your time.
Good afternoon, Mr. Papo. How are you?
Very well, thank you very much. And first of all, if a court declares someone a felon, what goes into the process if they want to confiscate the person's assets?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Papo. Thanks for the question. And essentially what happens is that if a person, this is how it works. If you use any property in furtherance of a drug offense, and then the property has been found out to be the place where the offense was prepared, for instance, anything that was done in furtherance, i.e. facilitating, assisting, promoting, managing, or carrying out anything that will lead to the commission of the drug offense. Now, where that preparation, facilitation, promotion, and all those things takes place, that property may be confiscated to the state. So even if the property is outside the shores of this country, the property may be forfeited by the person who got involved in the drug offense.
Okay, and who can order the confiscation of these property?
Can you say that again?
Who can give the order for these properties to be confiscated? Is it the court that declares the man, guilty, or anybody who thinks that they must have used that property to facilitate their deal can go to court and call for that property to be confiscated?
Well, I know the prosecution that should bring an application pursuant to its intention to have the properties confiscated. So the prosecution would make an application to the courts, praying the courts to confiscate the property that is in the name of that person or owned by other person. In fact, what the law says is that any person who directly or indirectly, so that if you acquire the property in the name of another person and there's sufficient evidence to establish that you actually are the real owner of that property may be confiscated. Now what happens is that the court, after it has convicted that person, if it is satisfied and it is proved before it that the property was acquired with the benefit of proceeds from the drug trade, the court shall make an order for the confiscation of that property, either equipment, property, any property that has been acquired, if it's a mobile phone, computer, anything, any conceivable thing, the court shall order it for future.
Okay, now we are very much aware that two cases in point, which is that of Erica Martin, the former member of parliament, and then also the very latest one, which has to do with Naeli Ametepe. They were not arrested in Ghana, they were not tried in Ghana, they were not convicted in Ghana, they were not even jailed in Ghana. Now, can an international court or the country that in which they were arrested and tried also order for the confiscation of their items in their home countries?
That's a very good question. Now, Ghana is a signatory to International Narcotic Trade Convention. And one of the things that is supposed to be done is to have some amount of collaboration between and among member countries. Now what happens is that if the property is even acquired in another country, not the home country of the accused person or the convicted felon, that property can be forfeited in any other country. So for instance, if a property has been acquired by a drug offender in Ghana and the property has a property in New York, the person has a property in New York, in the United States, or in the UK, for instance, the court in Ghana can make an order for the confiscation of that property if it is in the name of that person, so that the United States courts can also proceed against Amoaten's properties in Ghana, and they can do so through the collaboration of our own narcotics control board here.
Okay, and finally, I'd also want to find out from you, we are told that sometimes before people undertake some of these, escapades, they know that in the case of an arrest, their properties could be confiscated. And so they register some of them in the names of relatives and friends so that they may not be the direct owners of some of these items. How does the law play when it comes to circumstances like this? If it is found out that this property, yes, is for this man, but is registered in another person's name, can the law, have a hand in maybe seizing that property?
Well, that's a very tricky one. Normally what happens is that some of the drug felons would incorporate companies, and then they use the company as a facade. So they stay behind the company as if the company is a legal entity on its own. But in actual fact, they are the ones who are running the company. And so when properties are acquired in the name of the company, there's what we call lifting the corporate bill. So that if some offense has been committed by the person who is more or less the alter ego, he has the company at his beck and call. The court can look beyond the fact that it's a corporate entity, a legal entity, and then see whether the properties that were acquired with proceeds of a drug a trade. Right. Now, it's not as if the court will move immediately and acquire the properties. The person is given the opportunity to come before court and explain to the court how he acquired the property.
Okay.
You understand? So you have to explain and then tell the court how you acquired it. So in this case, it's a matter of more or less weight between the prosecution and the convicted felon to prove whether he owns the property or not. And the state have to do a better job in proving some of these things. It's more or less a cabal, and we tend to cover one another's back. So what you do is to do a lot more work in order to determine whether a property. But of course, we have examples. We have the examples of Sima Ibrahim. We have the examples of Benjino, whose property is still locked down, I believe, around the Cow Lane and Zongo Lane area, the shop, the Gulo shop, and some other properties like that. So if the state is able to prove that this property was acquired with proceeds of that drug trade, they should be able to get a forfeiture order by the court.
All right. Good afternoon, for now. Thank you very much, Hassan Tampuli. He is a legal practitioner and was telling us what goes into confiscating or seizing the asset of someone who has been charged and found guilty of drug-related offenses.